morning. Welcome to our story time.
Hi, good morning.
This is Story and Activity. My name is Miss Alicia. I'm a children's librarian at Teaneck Public Library. This is my assistant here. And we're going to read you a great book today, and it is called
Ada Twist, Scientist.
That's right, Ada Twist, Scientist by Andrea Beaty.
I want to see the picture.
Illustrated by David Roberts. Thank you to Andrea Beaty and to Abrams Books for permission to read this story to you today.
I want to sit here so I can see the pictures.
Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and make her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. There she is up there. Look at this mess she made. Oh my goodness. Is that what your room looks like at home?
Nope.
Maybe.
Not mine, though.
Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. You can ask your grown-up when you said your first word. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree. She climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Why do you think they want her to stop?
Because that's not good. It could fall over. She could hurt herself.
Right, it's not safe to climb all the way up high like that. Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "He'll figure it out." Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Look at all these questions she asked. What does it do? Why won't it? How? Why does it? When? Will it?
What?
Lots of questions.
When's now?
When is now? That's one of them too. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Look at all these colors shooting around.
And her brother's very mad at her.
I don't know about that. Let's see. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing. Do you see a mockingbird in this picture?
I don't.
I'll show you. It is right up here in the corner. See?
Oh.
Look at that little mockingbird. Mockingbirds are gray and white. When a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking. What is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Where do you think that stinking is coming from? Do you have any ideas?
I think it's his shoes, because I know it is, because I see the lines.
You see lines coming?
Yeah.
Off of his shoes. I think those are the laces.
No, I'll show you. See, no, these lines.
Yeah, those are the laces of his sneakers.
No, they're not. No.
Well, we shall see. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew.
What's hypothesis, Mama?
That's a very good question. I'll answer in a second. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis too. Actually, at the end, we'll talk about the word hypothesis.
Is hypothesis her cat?
No, but that would be a good name for a cat. Then zowie, the stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!"
She's trying to put it in the washing machine.
We cannot put animals in the washing machine, right?
Yeah.
That is also not safe.
But actually, I've been putting my dolly in the washing machine for years, and there's like a little thing she can hang in and dry in.
Yes,
like
dollies you can, or stuffed animals, but not real animals.
Yeah, but not like hard dollies.
Yeah, ask your parents first. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now by the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when, and at the end of the hall, she reached why once again. Her parents calmed down, and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall.
The cat is in the thinking chair.
Yeah, he is. They watched their young daughter inside as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it out. Oh my, that is a big mess on the wall.
Can I see it, Mama, later?
I hope that that is some washable marker.
It's not washable. That's not marker, that's pen.
Uh-oh. And that's what they did. Because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist.
Okay.
And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows?
Can watch this? The smell.
Is that where the smell is coming from? The shoes?
This smells good.
Okay, well, you asked a great question. The question was, what does hypothesis mean? A hypothesis is a scientist's guess. They might say, why is a rose red? Well, my hypothesis is that it is
Rose.
the soil that makes it turn red. That could be a guess. I don't think that's necessarily right, but that could be my guess. And then I would test that guess by doing an experiment or by doing research.
But there aren't pointy things on this rose.
Well, we are going to talk about what makes a scientist, because you could probably be a great scientist. I bet you're all great scientists. You're very curious out there, and you can make some guesses like hypothesis, like scientists. So the first thing you need to do is ask questions. So here are some great questions for you to ask.
I have these flowers.
Where? Like you might say, where does this rose grow?
Can I show them mine and you show them yours?
At the end, you will show them yours.
No,
When I'm done.
I'm just going to hold them.
Okay. Where does this rose grow? Where will it grow best? Those are some questions you could ask about this rose. Pick something around you and ask some questions about it. When? When does the rose bloom? What season? You could ask when in the day does it bloom? These are all questions you can ask about something. And it's fun to start with something that you can see. You might ask, why does a rose bloom? Why do plants have flowers on them? And ask, how? How does a rose bloom? How does it grow? How do you plant it? You can ask, who can grow a rose? And what is a rose? What is a flower? What does it do?
So can I show them mine now?
In a moment. So that's 6 questions that you can ask about something, and that can help you come up with ideas for your hypothesis and for your research. That will help you get curious.
So I have some that you could learn. This one is and I wrote, I love you, Mama. And I drew a picture of Mama. And I also have this one, which I wrote my name on, Noel. This is me. And I have this one, which I made Mama, and I drew Mama, of course. I made this one, which says balloon, and I drew a balloon.
So, if your question is, thank you, assistant. If your question is, like Ada, why are there pointy things on a rose? Then you can make a guess about that, and then you can do some research. Now, how do scientists come up with answers to their questions? Do you know? They observe, and they use their 5 senses to observe. So what are your 5 senses?
You hear, you see, you smell, you taste, and you touch.
Yes, so you can use your 5 senses to make observations about what you are learning about.
I have 2 flowers, actually.
So 2 things you can do at home today. If you know how to write, you can write on a piece of paper these 6 questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how. If you are just learning to write, you can have your grown-up write those things. And also grown-ups, if your child is learning to read, you could use these as sight words. Make some flashcards with these words real big. Do maybe 1 or 2 at a time, and practice looking at them and reading them.
And where. And I made mine so you could just like learn the words.
Yes. So these are great sight words to learn if you're learning to read.
And the pictures.
You can also, on a piece of paper, either write or draw pictures of your 5 senses. So you could draw eyes and a nose, or you could write, if you're reading, you could write see, hear, smell. And then you can make your observations about something. So you can, if you're learning about a rose, you can write your observations about the rose. And so scientists can research what they have around them usually, but you might choose something that you're curious about that you don't have here. Say you're curious about tigers and why they have stripes.
And Mom is curious to know what an elephant.
About an elephant. Yes, if you're curious about an elephant, you can't observe an elephant at home unless you have one, right? Do you have an elephant?
I have an elephant toy.
Right, but we don't have any real elephants, do we? No, so it will be harder for us to do research about an elephant at home if we're going to be using our senses.
And
but
you actually can.
What can you do if you don't have the thing that you're
learning? If you don't know how to bake cupcakes, you could ask a question of that. These are just make-believe ones and make-believe.
Okay, but if you don't have cupcakes, or if you don't have an elephant at home to
or
observe,
cupcakes.
What can you do? Where can you go? What does it say on your shirt?
It says the library.
When in doubt, go to the library.
Or you could go to the zoo and ask a zookeeper.
Yes, if you don't have a way to observe something yourself, you can ask someone who knows, like a zookeeper who might be an expert about an animal, or you can go to the library. Now, right now, we cannot go to the library because it is closed.
But Mama can because she's a worker.
But what you can do is ask a librarian, and we are still working. Librarians are still working for you to help you. So you can email a librarian, you can call a librarian at our phone number.
Or you could text one.
You can text our phone number, or you can use the chat feature on our website to ask us a question. So if you're doing some learning at home and you need some extra help, maybe you want to read a book about something, or you want to look up a recipe for cupcakes, just let us know and we can help you.
And these cupcakes almost look like real cupcakes because they look so delicious.
Yes. So in our comments, I'm going to put some activity sheets that you can print out and do. And I'm going to put these words that we're learning here.
The tops can even flip to just this,
okay.
or